Hello, welcome to Reframing Mindset Podcast. We are clear my head of the thoughts that are preventing clarity, practice my speech, among other things. Episodes range from informative knowledge to funny stories about my experiences, and in the future, maybe include interviews. So subscribe and enjoy. Episodes drop every other day.
Okay, welcome back to Reframe Myself podcast. My name is Clarence Brooks, and this episode will talk about career as a luxury. So, yeah, like what this episode came about is that there's a lot of careers. So, I would say, and with a lot of careers, what will happen is that you have people that look up to certain careers, and you have people that look down on certain careers. And the thing about life is that a career, the thing about weird thing that you understand about life is that a career can be looked down upon. That is a good career. So, so like for example, where I grew up, science. If you're doing science, you'll be called a nerd and stuff like that. You're called a nerd if you're a, a guy, if you're a boy or stuff like that, because you're interested in learning and all those things. But if you're a girl, you'll be bright. You'll be bright. So, you look down upon being bright as a boy is really looked down upon. So that's one of the thing about you realize is that so so you have weird things that are looked down upon. But the next thing is also is that so you have that reality. But the next reality is that so if you say you want to do that career as well, you want to do science and stuff, based on the nature of the way you're growing up, there's not really much science opportunities. So they will say, "Oh, you'll be regulated to this career instead." Which will be another career that they look down upon and be like, "Oh, this is what you'll be basically doing," and because of that, you don't really have much future and stuff. So, so a career there's a lot of bashing for each career for each career. So so evil so you can but one thing about career is that you can't look down on anyone. So you can't look down on farming, you can't look down on being a janitor and all those stuff. Because it's very important. Without farming you can't get good food to eat and all those stuff. So janitor work you can't have a clean area. And the work that I was that that they say if you do science, you basically be doing actually did it. And it's really important because I use that career a lot and it's really convenient in solving a lot of problem for a lot of people. Very easy. So you can't really look down on the career. It's there to solve a problem and it gives you money. If But the thing about it is that each one of those careers, where it is, even the career that I'm doing now, this new job that I'm doing now, it it comes with a lot of risk, a lot of risk. And so it's not something that you go out and it's like, oh, you get your dream job and then you're out there doing a dream job and you're living the ball life. It comes with certain risk your health or all those stuff, time with your family and all those stuff. It doesn't come free. It doesn't come free. It comes with certain risk. So ideally, what would happen is you have this thing that came to me where career as a luxury, where basically why the advancement of certain careers, like why there's a lot of research and stuff like that, is because eventually they just want to get rid of all the most of the bad stuff about the bad parts. So let's just basically focus on the part that you like, you know, as much as you can. Because the thing about it is that you may love farming, but the rigorous process of going down, digging the dirt, planting, and all those stuff, waiting for it to get reap and all those stuff, that's a very tedious process. Yeah. And to your health and all those stuff, a very tedious process. So whereas technology come again to just basically come and make those farming easier. And then when you can do that, you can do a lot more things. You can do a lot of things. Um, do farm a lot of things. Farm a lot of fruits at the same time because of advance of technology. But if you be adamant in just saying that I'm a farmer and doing things, but with advance of technology, you may forget the core of the farming. So you may say, okay, this thing now will allow me to farm a lot of stuff more. But and with the fertilizer, with the introduction of fertilizers, you will reap you reap a, you harvest a lot of more fruits. But the fruits will not be of the quality compared to when you were doing it more manual. So you go ahead to in the future because it's more easier, but you because you rush into the future because it's more easier, but you forget the lessons. You forget why is you forget the lesson, the core concept of farming. So what will happen is that you have a case where you're farming a lot of things, but the things are not nutritional. So you're basically farming in vain. You're just basically farming to make money, and then is you're farming in vain. You're farming in vain. So basically, what happened is that one of the things is that you need to learn the core of it, understand why, understand the nutritional value, and that's the reason why fertilizers. Yeah, specialists that goes in and actually think goes in and actually study and say, okay, this is what makes a fertilizer um work and reap a lot of soil and all those stuff. But there are other things that there are other natural things that can be used as fertilizer, like the fruit skin. All those stuff can be used as fertilizer as well. So it's like it's good to learn all these things and then find a way to actually better utilize them so that you do not. So it's more easier to do so that eventually you don't have to do those stuff again. So you'll be like when you go to farming now, you say, okay, I'm just gonna pick up the fertilizer now, have have my technology come and reap the soil and do that. But the thing about it is that you understand why you're doing it. So if a new farmer comes now and be like, okay, teach me how to farm and stuff like that, you you don't be like, oh my god, use this technology and use this fertilizer, and then when they come be like, why are you using this specific fertilizer? And you don't know. You need to understand why and why is that fertilizer being used? Why is this technology being used? That's why the history of upgrades is really important. So, the next thing about reason why, so that's basically a simple example. The next example is, back in university, we learned about, the person that found that created the DNA sequence that we now know that you learn in university if you're doing science in any of shape or form. If you're doing biochemistry, you learn about some DNA stuff. I don't even remember. I don't. I just remember that the DNA sequence and all those stuff. The person who found it out. They say it was two persons, two persons. But when you learn in university, you learn that it was due to another lady. It was due to another lady, and that lady was doing uh, a radio some career where she was working radioactive substances. I think a lot. And based on her research, those two persons now came together and was able to um create find the sequence, the DNA sequence that we now know. It's been a long time since I actually looked into that part. But basically what happened is that due to that girl, um due to that lady's work, those persons were able to found out about DNA and they become legends because they found out about DNA sequences, a lot of stuff, lot of disease could get lot of disease were able to get cured and all those stuff, so they were legends. So the reason why that story was important was why that mentioned the lady part was so important to the professor at the time was because that his history now would praise those two persons, but not know that that was because of that lady. You know why all those things were possible. The thing about history is that I was not there, so you can't really accurately tell that story. But because when you're a man, well, woman will say is you're a minority, those interesting details would be very important to you to mention that the lady was there, so she was a very important part of it as well. So the next, so that part of it is out of it. The reason why um, explained that story was that because what happened was that she actually died due to, I think, cancer or something like that. And I would assume due to the fact that she was, if I remember the story, due to her career, what she was doing, interacting with a lot of radioactive substances, eventually those things eventually cause her health to um go to go down, and eventually she get cancer due to the fact that she was doing that career. And it was a very respected career and she loved that career. So that's the thing where you will get your dream job and you're doing your dream career, you're making a lot of advances, but boom, because you were doing that career, eventually you died. You may have died prematurely and stuff. But the trade off, the thing about it is that if you did not do that career, the benefits now that humanity is enjoying now, we would not have it without her work and putting in that effort. So she was a hero, that basically made that trade off now that we celebrate. But going forward, ideally, we don't want people out here going out doing that career and eventually getting a death sentence of a cancer every time. Every time you just go out there knowing that okay, I'm gonna do this career and because make some advancement, become a legend because eventually after she died, she actually I think she got a Nobel Prize or something like that as well. But the thing about it is that we don't want people going forward doing this career and eventually dying, eventually dying. So what ideally should happen is that you learn from that experience. That okay, going forward, when you're doing this career, you have to actually take these precautions and stuff to ideally prevent you from getting these type of exposure so that you can actually survive, do this career, and come out alive and make advancements as well. So the thing about it is that if you learn about the dangers of doing those career, you can help work on preventing it. And when you prevent it now, what happens is that that's another specialization where you basically come in. So you introduction of lab coats and stuff like that. These are are also one of the things is that the person who said, okay, wash your hands before doing any form of surgery or any time of work. That person is, is that simple solution saved many lives and careers just by a person saying, okay, going forward, you must wash your hands. First come in, wear your lab coats and those stuff. Those things now make a career being a luxury where you can have many doctors. Doctors is now dime a dozen in the world because everybody knows the basic procedures now to be a doctor. All you have to do now is go through the 5 years of learning those stuff, do your residency, boom, and then boom, you get your you become a doctor, and then eventually over time you build experience of being a better doctor. So and anybody can become now a doctor because the hard part is kind of gone. The hard barrier is gone to become a doctor. The next barrier will be now to become a better doctor, doing stuff now to basically make uh the hard the hard surgeries, the hard things that can be cured and all those stuff, make them easier. You have to find cures and all those stuff, make them easier. But those those parts are handled by specialists that are taking the risk now, trying to find that answer. And those people are taking higher risk now. So what happened is that so the lower level doctors now will just basically living based on living the nice life compared to the sacrifices of more specialized doctors in the past that went through the rigors to find out what will make doctoring better. Oh, washing hands would actually save more lives. So now when you see every doctor coming now before they start surgery, and you basically can go out and sleep, resting to know that okay, yeah, this doctor is gonna come out and save me. And because what happened was that years ago someone they say, yeah, if you wash your hands more likely you you will save a doctor's life. You save that patient's life 50% more of the time compared to the other person. That advancement save a lot of lives now in modern times. And then not only in modern times, you have this innovation now where people um can do a, doctors can do estimate and be like, oh, there's a 70% chance you get this and that. But and you have all these machines, blood test machines and all those stuff that before before you before these machines were built, doctors would have to be doing all these very intense stuff. Like, for example, when I was going to high school, there was this scale that I would actually see them use to try to find the weight of something. But now you have electronic scales that basically can do the same thing. But I remember those scales, and you basically have to move this stuff and then move that stuff to find the right number. And I do actually do not know how to use that scale to this day. I guess if I actually take the time, I could actually find out how to use it. But that compared to the electronic scales that I see now, way, way simpler, way, way simpler. But understand that okay, yeah, this the scale is used to measure weight. So you just that if you're a doctor, you will know that you need to know the specific reason of why you want to measure weight, the accuracy of why of the weight that you want to measure. Say if you want to be able to say, okay, I would need a very accurate one, maybe that hard one will still be the best one for you to use, even in modern days in 2024. So yeah, so that's the thing about career as a luxury, where eventually what you're working towards is that you want to get rid of much as a negative aspects of the career as possible, so that eventually you just be a norm where you basically can just come in, do the work, chill, and then not worry and be like, I don't worry, I don't have to worry about me getting cancer and all those stuff today and stuff like that, because as long as I wear these protections, bro, I'll be okay. That's how you work towards career as a luxury, where you think about this, you think about the dangers of it, and be like, okay, if I just basically do this now, going forward, this issue won't be an issue. So doing this career will not be a risk. Won't be such a risk anymore, because I know this now. Doing this now. So that's basically what careers are this episode is about. Is that when you're doing your career, you have to find ways to minimize the risk, so that eventually you can reap the benefits with less of the cons of doing the less of the bad things that comes with doing the career, because each career is important. That's why you want to actually make the career as attractive as possible. So if you basically can do things to make it more attractive as possible, yes, that's another way to actually make it a career of luxury, where people look down on janitor work. But if you get some better janitorial tools, it will not be as bad. Or then not only that, if there's technology now that we basically could do some form of cleaning instead of um upgrading, instead of, you can basically reach a point now where boom, you can basically get the technology to do all of those clean as well. You don't need to hire the janitors, but you can upskill the janitors to do a better job. And then eventually, what will happen is that the janitor work will just be a thing of the past. Will just eventually be a thing of the past, where, yeah, we don't actually need to do that anymore. Where that's the next part of the career as a luxury, where eventually you want to go where that career doesn't exist anymore. So me now, being a biochemist, will go out and try to find out what exactly all the stuff that biochemists do as much as it as possible, and then eventually reach a point where boom, it's so common, and then eventually all the stuff that the biochemists do just basically go away, and can be done without the biochemist itself. And then eventually what happens is that the biochemist, doing biochemist being biochemist as a career, is a thing of the past. We have more advanced stuff now. That's that it will be more advanced things. Biochemist will be basically like a high school course now. It'll be like, oh, all the stuff that I learned in university now will basically be maybe taught high school level. I maybe even primary school level. Be like, oh my god, I'll be old and be like, oh my god, all these all these stuff you're learning in high school. I learned this stuff in university back in my days. You know, so that's how career as a luxury is. You basically advance stuff, where eventually you want to make the hard thing just basically be a thing of the past. You just be like, oh my god, this just like, for example, robbing and thief. There should be a thing of the past. You should just be looked down upon and be like, oh my god, bro, it should be a disgrace to be out here doing this. In such an advanced society, bro. We're out here chilling, big. Everybody have money, bro. Yes, revert to that, you know. you know, so it's like, so that's another part of the career as a luxury, where you up you upgrade so much that certain form of stealing is basically low level stealing now. Where basically, if you basically do that form of stealing, you basically be somewhat lower level. You basically end up worse doing that form of stealing compared to you doing compared to you basically trying to do the right way. That's how you can do that, is that you become, as society becomes richer. So, you have the petty thieves that come and maybe try to steal a phone or stuff like that. If a society becomes richer where a phone is so easily able to be purchased, a person coming and robbing a phone, you know, sadly a life may be lost or stuff like that. But in the long run, that person would be, you know, it'll it'll be a cost, a cash flow negative for them to even try to take the phone. Like, you know, being a being a thief. Even if you try to buy a car, a thief a car, it'll be negative. You'll be basically worse off. Try to, even if you try to steal a house, right? Yeah, that's what you upgrade this. That's how you basically go to career as a luxury. Where you upgrade so much that doing certain things becomes unproductive. It's more unproductive to do that. Like, for example, no, I actually went through the process to actually get my license. So no, I actually lost my license when I lost my wallet. But I can basically just go to the tax office and get a replacement. So me losing the license now is actually means less to me now. It just means that maybe some days, sometimes I may have to actually pay more money and stuff like that. But a person who steals the license, it is of no use to them. They actually wasting time, would be wasting time trying to steal a license from me because they can't use it. That, and then not only that, so that's how you have to really think about career as a luxury, where you advance it so much that they doing certain stuff would be stupid. Would be stupid, and that's how you start to go into the future, where you're basically solving problems. So you have a so you have the normal working world, where you basically say boom, you get this job and you're working here until retirement, buy a house, and then boom, chill, you retire eventually till you die. But then you have the progressive mindset career as a luxury, where come in, do the work, and you find way to do the work better. Boom, each year the company makes more profit because they find more efficiencies and stuff like that, and a way to do it better. And then eventually you reach a point where you find an efficient way so much that boom, that role that you usually do basically doesn't need to be done anymore. Where that company be like, okay, we can get rid of that role now. Let us just train our previous company people to do a higher role, and maybe get rid of some as well. But not only that, if if the people who are doing the work smart enough know that role that you did was full of experience to actually upgrade and go to a better work as well. So it'd be sad that you'll be laid off to the fact that career doesn't exist anymore. But knowing that experience is still valuable enough for you to go to a different company and be like, okay, yes, you're smart enough to learn some new skills now, you know. But because we are advanced so much, even though you feel like you're starting over, the society and a whole, just because of this advancement, is on a new level of starting. It's on a new level where where certain things you're starting off better than when you were starting before. So you start now trying to struggle to get a probation or although getting health benefits and stuff like that. You basically go to this new work and be like, okay, you're competent enough to learn this new skill. you can come in and get the benefits from start and understand your situation now. The career was gone, so you can basically give you the benefit knowing that yo this and that and that. So yeah, career is a luxury. A lot of stuff can be explored in it. Since we're in 2024 now, so there's a lot of stuff can go on, but that's how you really have to think. Where basically you reach a point where boom, biochemist is just a norm, and they eventually reach a point where biochemist doesn't even exist. Being a biochemist is just it will just be like you graduating from primary school norm. Yeah, that's basically for this episode. Thank you for listening. I look forward for the next episode.
Well, this is the end of the episode. Thanks for watching and look forward for the next episode. To support this podcast, go to anchor.fm/cssb/support or become a sponsor for this episode. If you have a product that you want to have more exposure, DM me on the Instagram page, Reframing Mindset Podcast, or on Twitter at ReframingP. Either way would help. Thank you regardless for listening, and here's a preview for the next episode.